what I did have was just a deep sense of empathy. And I've just always been sensitive and caring about others and really wanting to make things better for other people and also putting myself in their shoes. So that was just as a child, I've always been, caring and sensitive and sort of think of myself as that way now. And then I also just love, like you, and I heard a little bit about you when we were chatting a few minutes ago. I just love the pace of business. I love the excitement of business. I love the drive and the ability to make a difference and just really create yourself, create something meaningful out of nothing is really exciting for me. So I think both empathy and that desire and that hunger to push myself to do something that's really hard are the two qualities that I would say have made me an entrepreneur.
Jessica Rolph is the founder of Lovevery, the company creating science-backed toys and learning products that support child development from day one. Before Lovevery, Jessica co-founded Happy Family, one of the fastest growing organic baby food brands in the US, later acquired by Danone. With Lovevery, she's continuing her mission to bring research-driven, purposeful products to families everywhere. Welcome to Reinventing Capitalism, the podcast where I, Claudia Thomas, decode the success of for-profit impact businesses through the stories of their founders. Our goal is to inspire you towards a purpose-driven career, because life's too short for boring jobs and soul-crushing corporations. Quick note before we get back to the episode. Just give me 30 seconds of your time. Two things. The first is a huge thank you for listening and tuning into the show week after week. It means the world to me. And the second is that we are just getting started. If you enjoy what we do here, please join the 14% of people that listen to this podcast regularly and follow us on this app. I promise to do everything in my power to make this show as good as I can, now and into the future. Thank you. Jessica, thank you so much for being here today with us. I wish you were in Paris with me, but we had to find a workaround.
Unfortunately, we did. I really wish I was in Paris, though.
Next time. I think next time we'll manage to fly you over.
Wonderful. That's a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, so I was thinking a lot about the concept of your business, and I kind of went into a philosophical route because everywhere you look, there are children. And obviously behind each one, there's a parent doing their absolute best. And raising a children today, it's kind of a big question. It's not evident to have children as it was in the previous generations. And obviously, while it's the most beautiful thing, it's also the most exhausting and it brings a lot of responsibilities. So here you are, someone that has spent their career at the intersection of business and early childhood development. You first built another company, an organic baby food brand, if I'm correct. And then you founded Lovevery, which is bringing science into playtime for children. So I guess I want to start at the beginning and I want to understand who were you, what part of your personality prepared you for building companies with such positive impact and with such an emotion tied to the business?
Well, that's such a meaningful question. And I would say that what I was not was the child with the lemonade stand or the business, at seventh grade, or the one that was, working in business and just having a lot of ideas for companies that I wanted to start. I never envisioned myself as an entrepreneur or even in business. But what I did have was just a deep sense of empathy. And I've just always been sensitive and caring about others and really wanting to make things better for other people and also putting myself in their shoes. So that was just as a child, I've always been, caring and sensitive and sort of think of myself as that way now. And then I also just love, like you, and I heard a little bit about you when we were chatting a few minutes ago. I just love the pace of business. I love the excitement of business. I love the drive and the ability to make a difference and just really create yourself, create something meaningful out of nothing is really exciting for me. So I think both empathy and that desire and that hunger to push myself to do something that's really hard are the two qualities that I would say made me an entrepreneur. But I was never, again, that typical entrepreneur that just had a bunch of businesses as a kid or as a young person.
It's very interesting because it's true that you need to have a lot of empathy to take other people's persons as your own, because otherwise, why would you invest your time in trying to solve them, right? I think it's a characteristic that I do see throughout the entrepreneurs within the impact space.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you need to be able to put yourself again in someone else's shoes, in your customer's shoes, and it can be a strength, and then it can also become a weakness. So I think that if anybody's listening and they've DM'd me on Instagram or they know me on the Facebook channels of the Lovevery communities, they'll know that I'm there. And I think that sometimes I do need to pull up and really think more bigger picture, and I can get lost in sort of empathizing with one customer's concern, and it ends up not being as productive.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about this journey from happy family to co-founding Lovevery. How did everything come about?
Well, first, I was like you, was really fascinated by this concept of business and social change and that you could merge the two. So when I got out of college, I worked at nonprofit, I worked in the government sectors, and I was really interested in the work that I was doing, but I felt a little bit like there was something more for me in business. And yet for, a lot of kind of young people, they think of business as just about making money and not having enough heart. And so I became really interested in understanding the stories that you tell here on this podcast about, for example, Seth Goldman was one of my mentors, one of the people that I looked up to and really studied his story around honesty and what he did. There's also Gary Hirschberg, who founded Stonyfield Farm Yogurt. There was Anita Roddick of The Body Shop. They're these icons of people who had for-profit businesses, but that were really doing it from a very deep heart-based place. And so for me, I decided that is the space that I want to live in. And so I went to a social venture network conference. I volunteered and checked people in and did sort of a free, somehow got to be a volunteer there, and had the most amazing experience meeting these social entrepreneurs and seeing what possibilities there are for our future. And then I was working at Whole Foods, which I thought was a really interesting company doing great work in trying to bring more healthy food to the mass market.
Yeah.
And I met this amazing woman who had an idea to do an organic baby food business. It was she wanted to do a fresh baby food business, and heard about her company, and she was looking for a business partner. And so I joined her to create Happy Baby. And that journey we sold the business after 7 years. We went through so many learnings. It was really, really hard. Seth was actually an early investor in Happy Family, really believed in us. He had
That
to choose
really took an important role.
He is. He had to choose between getting a new stove, I remember, or investing $2,500 in our business. And he decided to invest in our business, which is so super grateful.
Oh,
Grateful to his whole family, his wife too. And then through that experience, really understood that there was some core needs in early childhood that weren't being met. And so at Happy Family, a lot of the products that you could purchase were in jars, and they were there was a very small percentage of the overall market was organic. It was only 3% of all baby food sold in the US in 2006 was organic. And so we really changed the market by bringing in a modern brand with more nutrient-dense foods, innovating the packaging formats to be more convenient, more modern and fresh for families, and then we sold that business to Group Danone. So that was really exciting. I found myself wondering what was happening with my child's learning. So I really understood I have 3 children, and I really understood what was happening with their developing bodies and nutrition. But I did have this nagging sense that there was something more around their learning than the toys that I had in my home. And that was the beginning of the question for creating Lovevery.
What was it though? Because obviously, like, you're a mom of 3, you're involved in the food industry and like their nutrition. But what's the moment when you're like, okay, I want to truly understand how to make learning easier, more seamless, or more thoughtful, I guess?
Yeah, I discovered a doctoral thesis. So somebody wrote a white paper on infant brain development, and my birthing instructor actually had it in her little library. So you could check out these books and then return them to her. And it didn't look like it was really officially published. It was spiral bound, and it was called Neural Foundations, something about what creates smartness, like how we become intelligent. And so I read this document, and I found that it had nothing to do, all the advice that he had put in this document had nothing to do with the toys that I had. It had everything to do with understanding what my child was hungry to learn at each stage, and then doing these very simple things like taking my baby on a house tour, forward facing in a carrier, and opening and closing cupboards slowly, turning on and off lights, being able to experience the world with them, and realize that a lot of the plastic flashy light toys that I had weren't useful for building a meaningful brain architecture for him. And so it's fine, it's distraction, it's fun, but it's not what he's hungry for learning. He wants to learn about the real world. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to share this document with everybody I knew. And I actually gave it, I printed it, I reprinted it, I gave it to my friends, and I found that it was just falling flat. I was like, no, but this is so interesting, isn't it? It's like amazing. We can make such a difference in our child's future. And you just need to do all these, follow this program um and do these activities with your baby. And it doesn't have to do with these toys. And I realized that it was just not very accessible or warm or meaningful for the majority of my friends who also had young children. And so I started dreaming about how could I make an impact, but in a way that felt more warm and confidence building and supportive instead of this sort of cold white paper on infant brain development.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that it's about exploring the world, because now most child's games are digital. They're digital, they're on your phone, and they're on their phones. Parents just give their phones or tablets to children just to distract themselves. And I think that's like something very important to like a very important message to leave to the audience, that after all, learning and smartness comes from experience with the real world.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think that there really has been something different than when we grew up with TVs and television. There is a whole new level when it's handheld. So the digital shows and kind of media can seep into everyday moments, like in a waiting room where you might normally be just talking to your child, or they might be fidgeting with something on your lap. Now they have a tool, they have something to watch. When you're in between spaces in the car or traveling, there's just always this availability of a screen, and
Hmm.
and it also is very close up to their face, as opposed to kind of the TV is more distant, and so that closeness creates a more immersive experience for babies and young children. And so it's a big experiment. I certainly we don't we want to respect that all families make different choices, and that there are certain times where
Of
as a
course.
parent you might want to make that choice. But at Lovevery, we try to make it really joyful and possible to have a lot of physical hands-on experiences. Nothing we do is with a screen for a child. And so we really want to support parents in having tools for independent play, tools for to also get a break, but have something that's really engaging. And when you meet a child right at the right stage and give them a challenge that they're ready for, they will be so interested, deeply interested in solving that puzzle or figuring out that thing, or how to poke those pegs into that hole, or how to like run with that beanbag, or whatever it is. It's like if you can tune into their developmental stages, you can create a much more deep, engaging experience for the child.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I find really interesting at Lovevery is that you're building for two stakeholders or two customers, for the parents and the child. And I've heard you talk about like the importance of product market fit very early on. How does that look like when your users cannot talk? So how do you measure, like the success of this product market fit?
That's a really great question. I would say that we definitely need to work through the parent. We want the parent to feel confident, and we obviously need them to purchase the products and to get it into their homes. But who are really, as you said, who are really serving is the child. So we do hundreds of hours of play studies and tests for each product that we launch. So we have people coming into our office all the time. We have a setup where there's a camera where a researcher can watch a family. We also do in-home tests where we give a product for a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or more and get feedback over time. How does a child engage? So we want to make sure that what the child is experiencing is what we had intended for them to experience based on the learning that science says is meaningful at that stage. And then for the parent perspective, we just can't have any kind of judgmental tone. We can't talk about, 90% of the human brain is developed by age 5. It's just like, and half of who we are is our genetics and half is our environment. I mean, those kinds of
They will be
statistics
so overwhelmed.
really stress parents out. And so
Yeah.
that's not what we lead with. We do lead with that Lovevery is designed by experts for your child's developing brain. So we're here to support you as a parent and feel confident. But we really want to bring in joy and confidence for the parents. And then for the child, we just really want to engage them in that deep focused play that's so helpful for learning.
How do you choose which part of the research actually goes into the toys?
So there is a very large body of child development science and research that we've known for a really long time. It's just that that research isn't necessarily reaching parents in a meaningful way at the time that they need to learn, to know. So as you said, parenting is such an important job. It's such a big job. It's such an exciting stage of life. But parents really, from 0 to 3, unless you put your child in a daycare and you're really getting a lot of information from them about your child's development and stages, I would say that, the pediatrician gives you a little bit of information, but it doesn't talk to you. They sort of are checking for milestones. And what we like to think about is that milestone is an outcome. There's just so much learning that happens throughout the child's development that really doesn't have to do with, oh, they can walk at this age or they can sit up here. There's so much cognitive development that's happening that we kind of can't see. And so I think that from our point of view, we're really trying to support parents with the information that they need at each stage. And that's what's meaningful. Just what you need to know right now for what your child's interested in. And there is just a lot of agreement in science on what is meaningful for each stage. So this is not something where there's some new science that comes out that says that babies aren't interested in the concept of containment, of like what contains what, like putting things in pots and pans and dropping things through a tube. That's just been known for a long time. It's just that parents don't really know when that development window is opening and what kind of tools you can give them to support that learning.
It seems that there's a bit of a lack of knowledge when it comes to child development and what parents know about their own child development. When you're testing these prototypes, like always from the perspective that everything is based on research, what is something that surprised you the most when it comes to parents' reactions?
Interesting. Well, when we first did our study where we used the design thinking model, so we found when we had the idea for Lovevery, I co-founded the company with my partner Rod, and we found 25 families, and we picked across a wide range of income, wide range of geographies in the U.S., and everyone from one family in Colorado that had their 5th child that was on public assistance to a family with their first baby in the Oakland Hills, making their family household income was over $1 million a year. So we had a really big range. And what we were wondering is parenting so hard and so challenging that you really do need the screens and you do need the flashing light toys and you just need the distraction in order to get through? Because there's just so much responsibility and it's so overwhelming? Or is there a hunger for parents to connect in a deeper level with their children? And are they willing to do some of the work, just of engaging with their child? And are they willing to read these little guidebooks and take an interest? Or are they just like so busy and frazzled that they just don't have time? And I think that the big aha that we found after just our first meeting, we shipped the simulation of the play kits. So we sent a box full of items that were appropriate for that child's age and a little handwritten guidebook. And when we flew around to meet these families, see them in their homes, we just were overwhelmed by how much parents just wanted the very best for their child and they were hungry for this information. They just hadn't gotten it yet. It wasn't available to them. And so I would say that was the biggest aha or the biggest surprise for us in a good way, was that parents want to lean in, they want to do this work, and that they do have extra energy and time, and that it actually gives them energy to take interest in their child's development. It actually is a positive force. It doesn't feel like more parenting work, if you will.
Yeah, no, understood. What a pleasant surprise.
It was great. I mean, we should have known that, of course, parents want the best and they'll do anything for their children, but it was really inspiring to have that reinforced.
Totally. I can see why. Something that I was also very curious about is the fact that you guys sell your products on a subscription model. How come? Like, it seems like children grow very fast. So I don't know. I struggle to understand where the subscription comes in. So please enlighten us.
Yeah. So I think as adults, we have this idea of what a subscription is, and it's just shoving more stuff into your home that you don't need, or it's good for business and it's not good for the consumer. They're just trying to hook my credit card and just charge it again. I would say that the concept for Lovevery came before this kind of wave of subscription businesses that became trendy. And for us, it's about helping a parent tune into developmental windows. So each stage, a child is hungry to learn new things. And it's very difficult to keep up with that as a parent and to know what your child is capable of. So we often find that even now, I still experience this with my own children. I have trouble keeping up with what they're ready for. So oftentimes they're ready for something more than I think. They're more independent than I think. They're ready for another challenge than I might imagine.
How old
And
are they now?
so 10, 13 and 15. So they're quite a bit older
Okay.
than our audience, our
Yeah.
customers now. But I find that that's one of the harder things about parenthood, and especially when a baby is evolving so rapidly and a toddler. I think all the time, and the reason parents love Lovevery is because it shows them what their child is interested in and is capable of. So we need to be able to ship these products that we have tested through hundreds of hours of testing with the child, that we've taken all this research and science and said, yes, we know that children love to poke smaller and smaller things into holes at age 13 months. They're ready. They're ready to and they want to practice their fine motor skills, and they want to keep having a progression of challenges related to fine motor. And a parent might discover at 2 or 3 that their child, a child might come across like a disposable cup with like a straw, and they might poke the straw through the lid of the cup, and the parent might be, oh, that's interesting. They really want to do that over and over again. I guess, they're really into that. But that might have just happened like through their environment. They might have just come across that. Yet at Lovevery, we try to present that opportunity for children to build that skill right when that development window opens for them, so they can go as deep as possible and they can just practice it over and over again because they love it. We're doing things that children love. So by nature, we need to have an ongoing relationship with families where we can ship the products at these stages. And if we leave it, we did some studies, and if we leave it to parents to pick out the toys, they often, how are the parents supposed to know? Like, they don't have
But is it a
all the science.
monthly?
Every
Because,
other month.
yeah,
So every other month for the baby year, because babies are rapidly developing, and then it goes to every 3 months for the toddler years, and goes up to
Okay.
age 4.
Exactly, 0 to 4. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's an age where they develop so fast that you do need somehow to stay up to date with whatever your child needs. And if you are busy with whatever else is going on in your life, having a trusted partner, let's say, that can guide you through that, I guess it's invaluable.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And then we invent everything ourselves. So we're not taking toys that have been on the market and then sort of reorganizing them and putting them into boxes for stages. So try to do when we develop a product is make sure that it extends so that play will last beyond just the 2 or 3 months that the box says of the age range, so that the child can learn new skills and the products layer with each other. So it's a whole system of learning.
Hi, can I ask you a quick favor? Every week, we dive into the stories of founders that do more than just make money. Our mission is to prove that a career in impact can be both purposeful and financially sustainable. If you believe in creating meaningful work, share today's episode with one friend who's ready to make a difference. It would mean a great deal to me. Your support is what keeps this show alive and growing. Thank you. Why do you think that the toy industry in general has been so far away from science?
I wouldn't say that the toy industry has been away from science. I would say that the industry overall there's a lot of revenue that can be gained from licensing. And so the industry is, there's a lot of licensing deals that drive growth in the industry. And then I would say that the biggest sort of limiter in the industry is the retailer model. So the retail model means that you have to come up with new things every year, and they need to be fresh, or you can have something that's the same, but you have to wait for somebody to walk by the shelves and pick out your product. And margins are difficult in the industry. And so it's capital intensive to make things and to test things and develop them. And so it's really, a lot of companies are doing it because they love children and they want to be in the play space. But the way that it's set up, they're not able to bring as much purpose, because I think they're kind of chasing the next retailer reset, the next retailer opportunity, or the next licensing opportunity, as opposed to really being able to have an ongoing relationship with parents.
But would you say that other toy companies also have this research-based approach to how they build their toys for child development? Is this something that it's industry standard, or it's more specific to Lovevery and the purpose that you have behind the company?
Yeah, I would say that we've been able to take, because of our model, we've been able to take a really high level view and then pull that through development through as a child grows, in a way that a toy company may be able to make a product for a certain age, or say like 6+ months or 12+ months. It's usually based on safety and age grading. But if you're a toy, you want to just capture as many people as possible to buy your product. So you say the plus when you're in retail. I think for us, we're able to be more nuanced because of our model. I actually don't know how other toy companies do their testing. I just know that what we're doing is working in a way that feels fresh for parents and children.
And do you have any data comparing the learning and development capabilities of children using Lovevery versus not using your toys?
It's a great question. We've wanted to do a larger study. We do have a Learn to Read program, and we have some really exciting results based on the ability of a child to grow in their reading skills. So I think 98% of children improved their reading skills after using the reading skill set for 6 weeks for 20 minutes a day. And the reading skill set is really, it's play. So children learn phonics rules through play, and then they practice with books. And in most all of the programs, children are learning to read by reading books, or they're reading through a screen. So we've had some very early success with the reading skill set, and we've measured that success. We have not done any larger scale studies where we compare families who do have Lovevery who don't have Lovevery. We've wondered about that, but it's a pretty expensive study. We do have a lot of anecdotal evidence, and feedback that we get from parents.
Yeah, absolutely. No, these tests are super difficult to bring to life. But I would be so interested in knowing the data.
Yeah, it would. Oh, we would too. It would be. We will do this kind of study at some point. Yeah.
And I think that in general, like, business is about scale. And what I like about Lovevery is that you talk a lot about trust and the relationship with parents. What would be your recommendation to other impact entrepreneurs on how to build a company that grows fast but without losing authenticity?
I think that I don't know that growth does have to be in opposition to mission. I would say that isn't. I understand that is a notion in general that can be seen with, I think, with a lot of the really big publicly traded companies that really do have to pursue growth at almost at all costs. I would say that if you're a private company, your mission is core to your growth. It's how you're growing is staying true to your mission. That's what people are resonating with and what they love about what you do. So I would say that they're more hand in hand. I do think that that when you're a much larger company and you're in the public markets, I think it could be more difficult.
Yeah. So it's about staying true to your why and staying true to your mission, and that will also, that will help you. That's what will help you attract more talent, and that's what will help you attract the right customers that believe in your mission. So never lose that mission.
Yes, exactly. And it also keeps you going. It's why you decided to do what you do. I think every business has a pulse and a heart, and there's a mission. I think it's easy to kind of say, oh, these are mission-driven companies and these are not. I'd say most companies have a mission and are driven by that purpose. And so I think tuning into that and staying true to that is really meaningful.
Absolutely. So I want to get into the topic of purpose at work, and purpose-driven careers. I think many listeners are in the middle of their career transition, and they're craving more purpose at work, and they're looking to step into the impact space. And one question that they often ask is, what are the skill set that this talent that want to transition to having a purpose-driven career really need to thrive in these types of companies? Like, do you see any standard, or any common what's the word, common attributes on people that work for these types of companies?
Yeah, I would say that in terms of the skills that you need to get in the door or to thrive in a mission-driven company are usually hard business skills. Just really being driven and love to problem solve and work really hard, and sometimes you have to just put in the extra hours and the extra time, and ask for feedback and take the feedback and grow. So I would say all of those skills are universal. I think that what I've noticed is that people that really thrive in mission-driven companies is a commonality of a desire to have something bigger in their life that they're going for. And I would say that probably most all people want to feel, mission in their work and want to feel purpose in their work. I have trouble imagining somebody that doesn't, but I would say that's just so personal and unique. So somebody that's going to be attracted to working at Patagonia might be a very different person to be who's attracted to working at Lovevery, who might be very different from working at Costco, which also has a important mission and deep mission versus Seth's company or Allbirds or some of the companies that you've founders that you've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
Lime. So it's about finding that match of what really lights you up. Like what can you get excited about and sustain that excitement? And I think for us at Lovevery, it's really a passion for early childhood development, whether that's being a parent or just loving children. There's a lot of people here that there's some people that don't have children and at Lovevery, and they just love children, or they love to be playful themselves, or they relate to being a child. So I think that there's that common thread can really keep you going in your career. So I definitely think it's worth exploring what lights you up, what gets you really excited.
And about how about soft skills, or like we were talking at the beginning about empathy. Have you found any commonalities in that front?
I would say, I mean, not necessarily commonalities for people that work for these types of companies. I would say probably the biggest is just being really hungry for feedback, hungry to do better, and then being willing to take in that feedback with humility and and grow and come back and do it again. And I think there's a toughness to that and a maturity that can be kind of hard, especially for people who are just starting their careers. I've been through it. I remember my first performance review at a SF Interactive, a digital media company that I worked for, and I didn't get an A, and it was really upsetting. It was just like, wait, I always get A. I'm an achiever. I want to get an A, but I had to really take in that feedback and think about how I could do better and be responsive. And so I think that can be one of the most important things that a person starting their career quality that they can have.
Is it hard to find people that have both the skill and the willingness to have an impact, or this passion to have an impact?
Usually not. Usually, people just want purpose in their work, as I said earlier, and as you've interviewed so many people. So I think that I think it's more about, are your skills a match for the work, what you've done in your career? Is it a fit with what what the role is, and how can you contribute, and being willing to kind of do things that keeping your vision high for yourself, but then being willing to just do kind of worky work, right? Like there's just a lot of that builds into a career. Just need to do the less glamorous work and just get it done.
So before we close the purpose at work section, I would love also your advice in how to build a company, and a very successful company, while raising a family. What's one piece of advice that you would pass on?
Oh, I would say uh, uh, figure out what you're not going to do. So um, I think at this point, my kids are a little older, so the living room is a little less of an explosion. But I would just say in general, I've not had the tidy home. My kids' hair wasn't always combed perfectly, and they didn't always have the right outfit for the holiday. It's just there are just things that you have to let go of, and it's really hard, especially I think it can be hard for some women because they have so many roles and expectations for themselves to choose to say, okay, I'd love for this to be tidy. I would love to have made a better meal tonight. I would love to have, had this organized, my kids' stuff organized, my kids' room. But just saying to yourself, this is just a phase, and I've got to prioritize my work, and I've got to prioritize being present with them. It's more important to be present with my children than it is to have everything in my house organized or tidy, if that makes sense. At least for me, that was
Totally,
hard. It was
totally.
really hard to do, but I tried to just accept the mess and know that being with my children, being present with them was more important.
How has, because you've gone through a lot of different stages, it seems, in your career. I would love to understand what does success look like for you now, and how has that changed as you becoming a mom, you selling a company, you starting another company? How does that evolve from when you are a young professional to where you are now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I was even asking myself that this morning. So it's really interesting that you're asking that of
Great
me
timing.
also. It was great timing. I think we continue to evolve what success looks like, through our lifetime. And I think for me, it's having my oldest wanting to have his friends over to our house and last minute me making them food on a Saturday night and having them all, have fun at our house.
Mm.
That at this stage of parenthood that looks like success, or having my reading out loud to my daughter and having her just love the story, and we're reading a novel together. And I think for me, from a parenting perspective, I've been thinking about this, and there's some books about this, but having high expectations and high support. So expecting a lot of my children, but then also supporting them in getting there and helping them map out what their goals are, and then helping hold them accountable to that. So I think that's sort of my parenting philosophy. And at work, it's really just I continue to just want to see the fullest expression of Lovevery possible. We have so much more to do here. It's so exciting. We love what we do. We are aging up with our customers. We have some really exciting launches happening next year that I think will be so well received. And
Of different toys or different business
systems,
lines?
yeah, different systems for learning. And it's just we love co-creating with our customers. And so I think it's just continuing to feed their needs and feel the love and the love and appreciation coming back to us is so meaningful. So yeah, I would say that that's the definition of success right now.
I mean, absolutely love and appreciation for from your customers and the value that you provide. That's literally like the epitome of adding value and having a positive impact in your community.
Yeah, it's really it's so I think everybody in our company really feels that, and it's such an honor to be in people's homes. It really is. And I think that we are a part of some of those memories, and it's really meaningful. So meaningful.
So if we look into the future, what do you think is the role that Love Every can take in shaping or in continuing to shape the parenting culture, especially with the growth of tech and AI? It feels like now kids already were surrounded by phones and tablets, but it doesn't seem like it's stopping anywhere anytime soon. So how do you think that you guys play a role in that?
Yeah, I think parenting is becoming a lot more intentional. We've seen parents over time just really think deeper and deeper about what they want, the experiences they want for their children. So I think we're going to sense like a swing back from technology, especially in the early years. I think we've, sort of had a drift towards technology. I think we're actually going to find that the parents are going to crave protecting their children more from technology up until a certain point. And then I think that if you can give the child's brain time to really grow and develop from real life experiences like you were talking about earlier, they have the capacity to problem solve and think in a much deeper way. And then I think that, obviously there will be the unleashing of, so many opportunities with AI, so many challenges for humanity, so many exciting opportunities for us and problems to solve. And I hope that I think parents are going to be really amazed to see how their children handle this new world. So I think that, yes, we're sensing this movement of protection from screens, and then let them go even bigger than we could even imagine with what the technology that we have.
What was your take about screens in raising your children?
Yeah, I tried to, we really avoided screens for a long time, I would say. I mean, we would have some family movies. My children don't have iPad. They didn't have iPads available. now my daughter is in school, so she's 10 and she has a laptop that she uses for school, but we try to not let her really use it at home much. She's practicing some typing. She'll do like a math program, but it's a lot of listening to stories or reading or playing or being, doing crafts and things. And then for my boys at 13, I let them have a Apple Watch or a watch. And
Thank you,
then,
mom.
yeah, exactly. Because I think that, most of their peers, some of their peers have phones. And then there is a movement of wait till eighth grade for a phone. And so
Mm.
we waited till eighth grade for my oldest, and we'll do the same for my middle. But I also think it's just, and then social media, waiting on social media until later. So I think that there's more and more parents that are waiting on phones, waiting on social media. But at some point, I don't know, it does seem to hamper their social skills and abilities, their abilities to be connected socially. So I think at some point having a phone does make sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a paradox. Wanting them to stay away, but then if you make them stay away, they are more disconnected. So I guess it's not an easy one. Not a question that I've had to work on myself yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so I can empathize to a certain extent. But I think this is a great note to close the interview. I think it gives me like hope and inspiration to hear this from you, because it makes me really sad actually when I'm at a restaurant, for example, and there's like these 4, 5, 6 year old kid with their grandpa with his or her grandparents, and they're on their phones or their iPads, and I'm like, what's going on, like what are we doing? And I think that hearing this from you, that you are obviously like in the center of this industry, I think it gives a lot of hope. And people from my generation, a bit younger, people are questioning a lot whether if to have kids. Like it is a question now. Like it's not a given. And it probably comes because like the idea or the format of parenting that they see that they don't like anymore. So I think that gives like the audience a lot of hope. So thank you so much, and also thank you for your view on empathy and business. Like I think everyone should have a bit more empathy in how they do things. And if that happened, the world of business would change completely. So thank you so much.
Oh, so wonderful being here with you, Claudia. Thank you.